Oh man, guys, by the time you finally see this video, it's going to be old news because I've been busy with work. But oh my gosh, so much news has come out between Star Wars, DC, Marvel, UFC. Let's talk about it. Conscious! Yes, as it says right here, Kathleen Kennedy is gone. Praise the Lord. Oh my gosh. Is this close enough? Praise the Lord. Thank God. Okay, let's go over this right now before I get too hyped up. Star Wars boss Kathleen Kennedy planning to exit Lucasfilm at the end of 2025. It should have been last year. It should have been the year before. It should have been 5 years ago. Jesus. All right. Kathleen Kennedy, longtime president of Lucasfilm, is expected to step down at the end of 2025. I mean, does anybody hear the bells ringing in the back of how wonderful this is? Except for the people that literally get paid by Disney to talk about the garbage that she's made and say it's good when it fucking sucks. All right, let's finish this. Let's see if I can even finish this article. She intends to retire after her current contract ends. Her contract's been done, bro. She's got dirt on people, I swear. A separate source close to Kennedy, however, dismissed the initial report by Puck as pure speculation and nothing has been decided. Lies. Get out. Kennedy joined Lucasfilm in 2012 as co-chair alongside Star Wars creator George Lucas, shortly after Lucas exited his post as Disney acquired the company for $4 billion. And Kennedy was elevated to the president. Okay, so what I will say is that, I mean, even though I was young at the time when this happened in 2014, seemed right. She's worked on a bunch of films with him and Steven Spielberg, and it seemed like, hey, like let's make the jump from producer to this company that you are good friends with the creator of it. It made sense, I guess, and I wasn't even upset with it to begin with. Until the time came. But before I get to that, let's keep reading. She's credited with reviving the property by launching the sequel trilogy, beginning with 2015 Star Wars The Force Awakens. Okay, so The Force Awakens, I like most of it. I like the ideas that were implemented in it. I didn't like the destruction of Han Solo. I thought that was kind of maybe just a weird thing they did. They didn't know what to do with Han Solo. And then they destroyed the character of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. So now, after I saw that, I immediately, or not immediately, otherwise I would have just known it from the first one. But I then recognized they didn't care about anything but promoting a fucking female Jedi that didn't train for shit and destroying everybody else from all the other movies. It's awful. It's terrible. And I hate watching it. Which is why I don't. But sometimes I do, just to fall asleep. Back to the article again. Kennedy also is chartered for a future franchise such as, okay, blah, blah, blah. The Mandalorian, season 1 and 2 good, 3 is ass, and Andor. And Bore. Most of that show sucked. There's like 4 good episodes. However, her future with the company behind Star Wars has been a source of speculation over the years. A lot of speculation has been, there's been a lot of clash between her and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, which we'll get to them more on in a little bit. But, I mean, that's the biggest thing. She actually brought them together, which was one of the best moves that she made. So credit to her, credit where credit's due. And then after that, she just, I don't know what happened. She got all Looney Tunes. Her dementia started kicking in or something. I don't know. But it went to ass. Boba Fett sucked. Mandalorian 3 sucked. You have like 2-3 years between these shows. And it's not worth the wait at the end of the day. Back to the article. Every time I say back to the article, somebody takes a shot. Guarantee won't make it past this first segment. I gotta say it, not spray it. Okay. However, for future of the company, okay, we did that. So, The Force Awakens, it did good at the box office. It still has the highest domestic, which means in the United States, has the highest domestic box office of all time. It hasn't been reached yet. And then every movie, less money, less money, less money, less money. Hey, just every movie went down, especially Solo. It obviously went back up for Rise of Skywalker because that's like a main saga movie. But every movie lost money compared to what The Force Awakens had made. Which sucks. It means you're failing. You're not doing something right. Back to the article. At Lucasfilm, Kennedy also oversaw 2023's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. That movie sucked too. They took two of Harrison Ford's most iconic characters of all time, and will be the most iconic characters of all time, and deconstructed them, took away their character arcs, and made them a freaking bum. I hated that movie. Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny sucked. Fifth and final film in the Harrison Ford-led series. Honestly, I am a Kingdom of the Crystal Skull apologist. I think that movie is infinitely better than Dial of Destiny. Okay, don't really care. It lost a lot of money at the end of the day. That's what this article's saying. Star Wars has struggled to return to the big screen. Okay, the best thing about Star Wars is right here. Well, not that it struggles. Never want to see that. But Star Wars and big screen. Those four words are what you need to focus on. What was so great about them is that they would make their little trilogy and then poof, they will go bye-bye. And then just wait until really nobody talked about Star Wars anymore, except for the diehard fans that did, and then they bring it right back. Even though a lot of the original trilogy people hated the prequel trilogy, there was a whole generation of people that were into the prequel trilogy that were then excited for the sequel trilogy, and then even though the sequel trilogy sucked, there's a lot of people that still like it. You're dumb, but it's okay. So that was the best thing about Star Wars, is that it was these events, and when that third movie was done, you're like, oh my gosh, will we ever get another one? And if you did, it was 10 to 15 years away, so you even didn't really know. That was the beauty of Star Wars, and there was nothing to tell story-wise except in books, and books are your own made-up movies. It was amazing. Since Rise of Skywalker. So 2019, it'll be 6 years this December. That's not for a lack of trying from the studio side, of course. They announced so many movies and none of them came through. Yeah, that's on you, studio, because you can't get your shit together. That's what it is. Of course, here and there, the director might get another project that they get more inclined to do and whatnot. But literally, right here, with Taika Waititi, they've been talking about his movies since before he did Thor 4. And that movie sucked. So thank God he didn't do a Star Wars movie, because he would have ruined that even more. So there was this one with Patty Jenkins to do a Rogue Squadron movie. That would have been really cool. I still think Joseph Kosinski should do that movie after seeing Top Gun Maverick. But we'll even see if it happens. At this point, I don't care. All right, The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson. Again, shit movie. Awesome director. Have no interest to see his trilogy at all, unless it takes place in the very, very, very far past. And some other BS. So the only movie they have is going to be a movie coming up. Oh, didn't mean to do that. A movie coming up that was originally a show. You're telling me in 6 years, the best you could do, Kathleen Kennedy, is give us a movie based off a TV show whose third season sucked? Oh my lord. Let's see. Okay. Anyways, not that big of an article, not that crazy of an article. The most important thing is the headline. Planning to exit Lucasfilm. Please do. Get out of here. You took this franchise and buried it into the ground. There's about 10% of the fandom that isn't even really real fans. They don't know shit about Star Wars. So, sorry, but I'm not sorry. You're not a real fan, okay? Now, there were some good. I will say that, again, credit where credit's due. There was some good, but when it continuously gets worse and worse and worse and worse, you need to get out. She's been there for way too long. So, cool. Let's get out of this, because I saw something that actually made me even happier than this. So here we have the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. Returns to theaters in April 25. So coming up soon. Literally 2 months. That's sick. And this poster's awesome. So if that's a Kathleen Kennedy decision, that's a good one. That's what you should do. Every year, bring it to theaters. All right, the final film in the prequel trilogy will be re-released on April 2025. April 25, 2025. Cool. Ooh, they got 4D for the first time. That's awesome. Yeah, that would be really fun. I actually might go see that in 4D, and I'm not a big 4D person. This poster is badass. I would love to get this poster. All right. So all this is just saying is that, hey, it's coming back. I wonder if they're going to do another 24-hour one. I did the 24-hour one last year. It's pretty fun. Good time until we got to the sequel trilogy, which was the thing that frickin' what's-her-face that's about to leave created. Force Awakens is the best one of them. And, yeah, it's really even not saying that much. But, okay, cool. Cool poster. Movie's coming back April 25th. I assume it'll be for a week, maybe a month. I think that's what it was last year for the 25th anniversary of Phantom Menace. So, let's go back to this real quick. To the Hollywood Reporter. Okay, so back to the travesty that's been Kathleen Kennedy. This from the Hollywood Reporter. Disney and Star Wars succession problem. Who will replace Kathleen Kennedy? So many people have been thinking that the reason why she hasn't stepped down years and years ago is because, honestly, nobody wants to fill those shoes. Star Wars is in a terrible place, the most terrible place it's ever been. Even when the prequels came out and everybody hated them, Star Wars is in a much, much, much worse place because everything goes down. It's not going up at all. So, with this, who's going to replace her? Favreau, talking about Jon Favreau, of course. Dave Filoni, talking about Dave Filoni. Feige, talking about Kevin Feige, the head guy over at Marvel. So, here's my thing. I think there's three. You could do, and it's not those three. I think you get Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. They've been yes men to this fucking devil at the company for like 6-7 years now. Maybe not quite that long, but it's been a long time. They've been yes men. They started off strong with Mandalorian. Dave Filoni has only done animation. His animation's been great for the most part. There's some like stuff that's like, but for the most part, his animation's great. Jon Favreau directed Iron Man, directed Zathura, directed Elf, co-creator of Mandalorian. Great stuff. Then when you get to the Book of Boba Fett, it's almost like he was forced to do something he didn't want to do, and then that had implications on Mandalorian Season 3, and then from there, it all went downhill. The whole Disney Plus theme of Star Wars that was good, it was the only saving grace Star Wars had for the time, went down and crashed and burned and everything after it did too. So I think you can do them two, kind of like how James Gunn and Peter Safran do for DC, which I'll actually talk about later in this video. They can do it. Filoni's a great storyteller, and Favreau is a great filmmaker. You get those two at the head of it, of Lucasfilm, they can then give their knowledge to other people, and the other people that respect them, and more importantly, respect George Lucas, will make great product. And then even some of them could do it too. Filoni can come up with the story, and Favreau can direct the movie. Vice versa. Filoni's kind of getting into the live action stuff, where Favreau can give him an idea, and Filoni could be like, hey, I could do so much more with this idea in animation, and then he could go do an animation thing. I think those two are it. Feige, he's got a lot of stuff to do with Marvel before he leaves Marvel. He could have left at the top, and unfortunately Marvel just kind of went downhill, same as Star Wars. Ironically, both under Disney, but whatever. That's a conversation for another day, another video. I don't think he can be there for Star Wars, not yet. The other person that I would say could be this part of taking over, I think there has to be two. It can't be one. There has to be two, no matter what. I think it could be Sam Witwer as one of the other guys. His knowledge of both extended universe and the canon that they've built is infinite. He knows so much to the point where he has to correct the filmmakers they bring in to do these shitty movies because the filmmakers don't do their research. If you have a guy in there that just knows off the bat what's what, even to the point where he's actually corrected Dave Filoni, the guy that created Rebels and Clone Wars, I think it'd be perfect. I think there's no other word. I think it would be perfect to have Sam Witwer there as not the guy to necessarily greenlight projects, but the guy to look over projects and say like, okay, this can't go here because of this, or this can go here, or there's some wiggle room because of this. George Lucas did his own wiggle room in his own movies. So there's always going to be a little wiggle room for Star Wars, and Sam Witwer, I think, is the guy, aside from maybe Dave Filoni, that can actually do that. And then, hell, get all three of them, but sometimes three is a crowd, so you got to be careful. That's just my opinion on it. So there's no word at all who's taking over, but it's okay. The important thing is that she's leaving. At the same time, sometimes you might want to dance with the devil you know than the devil you don't, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to take the good graces while they're there. During her tenure, Kennedy guided, they should put that in quotes, guided, maybe guided it to the ground. Okay, not an important paragraph. So, okay, one reason, let's see what this BS quote says. One reason Kathy stuck around for so long is because there's no credible alternative. Bullshit, said one person who has many interactions with the Lucasfilm leadership. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you'll say that when Lucasfilm is paying you to say it. Sources say former Lucasfilm executive Rain Roberts, who was at the company for 12 years, is being groomed by Kennedy as a likely replacement. Oh, God. Well, the way that Hollywood throws out the word groomed, I mean, that's probably not the best thing to put in this paragraph. But just last week, Roberts was announced as Searchlight's new VP of production. Good. Fox Searchlight, get him out of here. Another Disney property. Hopefully they don't ruin that one. But so far, so good with Fox Searchlight. Then there are details of the job itself. Kennedy was a movie producer who ended up not only overseeing Star Wars films, but Indiana Jones movie. Has a wide range of live-action animated series. Okay, this is just talking about what she did. What people don't understand is that it's not a creative job. That's about 10%. The rest of it is dealing with Disney, licensing, and fans. Bullshit? They might say that. They might want it to be that. And unless the guy that was friends with George Lucas before George sold Star Wars to him said, fuck George Lucas, fuck the fans, that's bullshit. And mainly, I don't believe this because Kathleen Kennedy doesn't even know half the things about Star Wars. So if she doesn't, then Bob Iger doesn't know. And all the Disney people care about is money. What's going to make money? And guess what? Losing $1 billion and hundreds of million dollars per film isn't making money. So I don't believe this paragraph at all. Is there some truth to it? Sure. Doesn't mean it's 100% true. All right. So here they're just kind of going through who could do this. Kevin Feige again, Filoni. J.J. Abrams, no thank you. Get out of here. You started strong with Force Awakens, in my opinion. You had the box of goodies that, I mean, you could have opened them up yourself, and you chose not to, so you screwed it. Let's not take people who are just producers. We've made that mistake before. So, no. All right. That's it for that one. So, if it's what everybody has wanted, or not everybody, but those that have dealt with Disney Star Wars and enjoy it to an extent, if they get what they want, it would be Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau taking over together. I think you can do that. I think there's room for that. However, I also think most things you have planned, you have to scrap. So, even, I hate to say it, even Ahsoka 2 and whatever they might be planning, scrap it and just start from there, but not the same story you're going to do after that. Like from Ahsoka Season 1, but not do the same story you'd already planned. Unless you have something sick in the pipeline that we're going to get next year and you know it for a fact. Other than that, I'd say, I don't know, scrap it. Scrap the Mandalorian Grogu movie. I think it's done filming. From what has been leaked about it, the movie's going to suck. That's not what we need right now. Especially if she goes out to Celebration in April and says, I'm leaving. These guys are going to take over. And then these guys are the one that give us Mandalorian Grogu the movie and the movie's no good. Oh my gosh. No. We cannot have it. So cancel that movie. Cancel any movies that have been in production for the last 6 to 7 years and then craft a full story that's going to take anywhere from 8 to 10 years and write out that story. And then if you need to chop it up into shows, chop it up into shows. If you need to chop it up into movies, chop it up into movies. If you need a little bit of both, do it. Just make sure it's good. Make sure it fits in the Star Wars lore. I'm one of the people that think, hey, you can go as far back as you want with Star Wars and it could be anything except the way they did the Acolyte, because the Acolyte just made A, no sense, and B, completely diminished Anakin as a character, which is stupid. That doesn't count. So ignore that. Go back, do whatever you want. But once the Phantom Menace starts, every single thing that's Star Wars, in my opinion, must be about a Skywalker. There is no Star Wars without a Skywalker. They are the central characters of the first 6 movies, which probably should have been the only 6 movies, and the freaking adopted one, or adopted, more like ran out of options, character still took the last name. So obviously Skywalker is something that Disney wants to be around as well. Luke has to have secret children somewhere. Craft a story that's going to fix his arc in The Last Jedi, because it ruined everything. The hype going into that movie was so high because Force Awakens was loved by most. The hype going into The Last Jedi was so high, it was insane. And because of the way they ruined Luke Skywalker turning into a little bitch and drinking green titty milk from some random walrus, insert clip. It took everybody that has loved Star Wars from the beginning, or as beginning as they can, and took them out of it, which is the majority of the fandom. We need to get that stuff fixed. So I think also even the games, if you're going to do a new Fallen Jedi or Jedi Survivor game, you need to not scratch all the characters. You need to scratch the layout of the game and change the game dramatically. No more swinging on these stupid vines for half the game. It's ridiculous. It's so stupid and boring. No more funky mechanics. How are there better mechanics as far as the lightsaber battle goes in a 2003 game from The Force Unleashed than there is in a modern updated game? It makes no sense. Comics. Stop focusing on the politically correct things like having, oh, this person must be in this position of leadership. They must be this person. They must be that person. Stop it. Just make a cool story. If a woman fits the character of the cool story, then have it be a woman. If it's a man, it's a man. If it's a Wookiee, it's a Wookiee. What we have seemed to have forgotten about Star Wars is that there's freaking aliens. Literal aliens. Wookiees, again, I would say a Wookiee is an alien. He's not a dog. Things like that in Star Wars. And somehow it's just forgotten. Let's not forget about what made Star Wars Star Wars. A, Skywalkers. B, aliens. C, lightsabers, good lightsaber battles, not shitty ones. And D, wait, did I say ABCD? I think I did. I'm too hyped up. And lastly, a fun time. Most of this stuff, when you watch it, it feels draining. It feels like you're sitting there watching your childhood go away from you. Let's stop that. Make us feel like kids again. That's the most important thing for whoever's going to replace this life sucker. Okay? So that's it for Star Wars. Now let's go on to Marvel. Okay, so moving on to Marvel now. The Russo bros confirm Avengers Doomsday filming start date. Sweet. Let's hear it. Joe and Anthony Russo were honored this weekend with a handprint and footprint ceremony at the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood, but it's their next steps, the ones not in wet concrete, that fans are most curious about. Deadline have confirmed via the directors that they will be starting work on Avengers Doomsday in London in April. So just like the Star Wars re-release, 2 months away. It's literally happening. Cameras are going to be rolling. We're going to get leaks. We're going to get cast. We're going to get characters. We're going to get maybe a little bit of story. Who knows? It's going to be awesome. And they will also be shooting Avengers Secret Wars back to back with Doomsday. Okay. So that's interesting because I think a couple months ago they had said they're going to have a good 6-month break, I think. Whereas I think when they did Infinity War and Endgame, they had 2 or 3 month break. But it seems this one might be a short break as well. So apparently that means that they have the stories for both of them. How the story will unfold for Secret Wars while they film Doomsday might be a different story. So we'll see. We'll come back to that at a later day. Attendees at the ceremony included the Guardians of the Galaxy cast and people. Okay. The very nature of my brother's Wait, of my brothers and my relationship is collaboration, Joe Russo said. So that means they're talking to the actors. Collaboration, they're not talking to each other and the writer. They're talking to the actors, getting the actors' input, because obviously the actors know these characters best. And obviously Kevin Feige as well, high up, probably collaborating with the other directors of the other movies just to see where their head was at when they were filming and how they can then progress those characters. There's a lot that's going to go into that. Joe Russo said, and we know that this moment is as much your moment as it is our moment. I think he's referring to us, the audience. Because no story gets told without the help of dozens of dedicated, passionate partners working hand in hand and building a story together brick by brick. All right, that's a very nice way of saying, hey fans, like, we're going to do the best we can for you. What can we expect from Avengers Doomsday? Doomsday will begin a 2-part story that will finish, we assume, with Secret Wars. Obviously, at this stage in the game, plot details remain under wraps. However, the Russo brothers have hinted at a radical storyline that claims or that aims to challenge audiences. We do know that Robert Downey Jr. will return to the MCU for the film, obviously as Doctor Doom, which is what they say right here, as the antagonist Victor Von Doom. Benedict Cumberbatch will also be returning, despite him apparently not even knowing he would be in the movie. I think he probably knew the whole time, and if he didn't, that's actually a good thing. That means they're keeping this very secret from a lot of people. Chris Evans has been reported to return, but he denied it. Anthony Mackie asked him a couple weeks ago. He said no, but I think it's a lie. As part of the team, so the Fantastic Four have been confirmed to be in it. Their movie comes out in July. They've been confirmed for both Doomsday and Secret Wars. And then some speculation has suggested that elements from Marvel Comics' Emperor Doom storyline, where Doom manipulates global events to establish a new world order, will be incorporated, along with the inevitable multiversal incursions, which should set Jesus Christ. Multiversal incursions that set up the events of Secret Wars, with production due to begin soon. We'd anticipate official details coming along very soon. That's not even... I mean, that looks like... It's not an official poster, but it looks like a cool poster, I guess, with all the timelines and stuff. But they've already done a purple one, so especially for Doomsday, it's going to be green. So stay tuned to Collider for more from the MCU. All right. So them just saying they're challenging audiences. I think what the challenge is going to be is more so like challenge us in a way that how are we going to see Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom and not think of him as Tony. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for audiences. And I think also it's going to be, the challenge will also be liking Victor Von Doom. So I have a thought about that, which I'm now going to get into. So the biggest, I wouldn't say the biggest, but I'd say one of the most important things about Avengers Infinity War and Endgame is that you kind of like Thanos. You don't hate the guy, and you understand where he's coming from. In the comics, Thanos, he's a tier 1 simp. He doesn't want to destroy half the population to save the other half of the population. He wants to destroy half the population to get laid. So that's what that is. Thankfully, they didn't put that bullshit in the movie. But what they did is they humanized him. They humanized this guy that uses violence and death as a way to solve a problem. And most people don't like that. But somehow you did. Somehow you understood it. And they put that into the movie as well. Everybody was going, not everybody, but there'd be people saying Thanos was right. And what you like about Thanos too is that you know if it was somebody else doing it, he would say, hey, I understand. If I'm the half that goes away, it is what it is. And I think that's what a lot of people like. He never speaks those words, but you kind of just know it from his behaviors. So how the Russo brothers got you to like Thanos in that way and like, not necessarily like the outcome of his mission, but understand it, I think they're going to do with Doctor Doom as well. But they're going to do it differently. Thanos destroyed half of population to save the other half. I think Doom is going to destroy a population that is trying to destroy his population. So they're going to humanize him and make him say, hey, I'm my everything I know, everything I love is dying because of this. And in order for me to save my family, my friends, whatever they're going to do, he then has to go and destroy what's destroying him. And that's going to be us. So I think they're going to try to humanize him in that way to be just like Thanos and make it a relatable point of why they're doing the evil thing that they're doing, even though it's not evil to them. And maybe it may not be evil to a lot of people as well. That's my biggest theory on how they're going to do Doctor Doom. As far as the Robert Downey Jr., some people think it's a Tony Stark variant or that Tony Stark is a variant of Victor Von Doom. I personally think they're going to keep it simple, and it's just going to be, hey, this is a guy who looks like the other guy, just like how Chris Evans in Deadpool and Wolverine wasn't a variant of Steve. He was Johnny Storm. He was just a dude that was played by Chris Evans. So they two different characters that happen to look the same. I think they'll do the same thing for this, which would then be a reason for Robert Downey to come back as Iron Man as well. I think he'll do both characters either way, but that's just my thoughts on it. Now moving on to DC. Damn, I don't have a DC hat. All right, so for DC, I don't got a DC hat to change to, so it's going to be blue. So here we are. James Gunn revealed the DC Universe future to us. 20 of the biggest updates. So I'm not going to read all these paragraphs, nothing crazy. I'm just going to kind of roll right through it. James Gunn is deep into post-production on Superman. Okay, with this, I think the new full trailer where we're going to hear multiple people talk and everything like that, kind of give a little bit more to the story, is going to come out in April. I think this because CinemaCon is at the very beginning of April, and last year, James Gunn, when he was filming, sent in a video and said that it's going to be the summer of Superman. And I think they're going to go heavy into Superman at CinemaCon. And also Supergirl as well. It's been filming for a little bit, so I think CinemaCon is going to get you the first little teaser for Supergirl. They might wait to release that to the public, but we'll see. I also think sometimes at CinemaCon they show movies. I think they're going to show the movie for Superman. They showed The Flash a couple years ago. I was there. It was a lot of fun. I think they'll do Superman as well. It might need some more CG touch-ups than The Flash did, but, I mean, it's not like The Flash did anything about it. But so, anyways, we'll see. That's number 20. Number 19, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Team is a dream come true for James Gunn. Okay, so James Gunn himself has said very specifically he will not greenlight a project or anything like that until a script or a draft is presented to him that he likes and has the final touches and everything said and done on it, so that way they can pump right into production and kind of get it out. So if he's excited for Supergirl, I'm excited for Supergirl. This is like the first look that you got. This one is from, this look right here is from the old one, from the, what was it, the 90s or like the late 80s. And then this one with the black chair, this is the new one. That was the first day of filming. Okay, 18. James Gunn is working on a mystery DCU project. Didn't reveal what it is. So this one, I'll read the paragraph. One of the bigger, more mysterious reveals of the DCU catch-up is that James Gunn is already working on his next project in the franchise. Frustratingly, albeit logically, Gunn would not divulge more information about it. So I think to me what this means is that he's going to wait and see how Superman performs, because he wrote and directed Superman, obviously. So if he's writing something else, if people kind of dig the way he writes Superman, he's going to say, okay, I'm writing this project, and it's going to be written similar or in the vein of how Superman was written. So I think that's the first one. I don't know if he'll direct it or not, though, whatever it may be. Although Gunn did declare it was not the sequel to Superman and was separate from his work on other DCU movies and shows, he is currently writing his next script as production on the former comes to a close. So he's writing the script. So this goes back to what I said a minute ago. He will not announce it unless he's happy with it. I mean, if he's writing it, then I'm sure he'll be happy with it. But he's not going to come out and say, oh, I'm writing this script for this character when he doesn't know if the script is what he wants it to be. So fair enough. The DCU's Batman Brave and the Bold is in very active development. The Cape Crusader is edging closer to the big screen. I mean, I like Damian Wayne. I would hope maybe it's an older Batman, but I could also see them doing like a 35-year-old Batman to where like, he's not too old to be Batman. So like you actually like believe him when he's jumping from rooftop to rooftop and stuff. And it's old enough for him to have a 10-year-old little Spitfire Damian Wayne child. So we'll see more on that as time comes. I honestly, I would like Robert Eggers to direct the Batman movie. I think he could do a pretty cool Batman movie. but he's already got his next project in, so I don't know. I don't know about that. 16. Paradise Lost, Booster Gold, and Swamp Thing remain in development. So to me, that sounds like the stuff I was talking about Star Wars earlier. It's in development, but there's no movement on it, so don't expect anything. 15. Peacemaker Season 2 will take John Cena's Chris Smith to an even deeper place. I did not like the Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn wrote and directed. I thought it was stupid, but I loved Peacemaker. So I'm excited for Season 2. I thought it was hilarious. You have to have a certain sense of humor for it, which luckily I do. 14. James Gunn is already working on Creature Commando Season 2. Creature Commando Season 1. Man, I did not expect to love that show. Each episode was kind of like a backstory of each character and how they got to the present moment they were in. So it did feel kind of repetitive in that sense, but because every character was a different character and every character had a different story, it was good. And James Gunn did it again. He made you feel an emotion for an animal that you never thought you'd ever feel. He did it with Rocket. He did it with King Shark. He did it with Weasel in Creature Commandos. That was probably my favorite episode of the season, was the Weasel episode. 13. Lanterns are connected to Superman, but has a very different tone. All right, cool. I would think that Superman would be very kind of active with the Green Lantern Corps and just communication-wise, given that he can like fly out in space and breathe out in space, and he can travel at the speed of light and everything like that. So here is going to be Hal Jordan, and then your Jon Stewart. I think both are going to be great. I wouldn't have minded a younger Hal Jordan, but I also don't mind this actor. I forget his name. Kyle Chandler. I don't mind him as an actor either. He's in some really good stuff. This guy, I haven't seen him act in anything, but he looks just like the Justice League cartoon version of Jon Stewart, so I'm excited to see what they do. 12. Clayface begins production in summer of 2025. Releases in fall of 2026. This is a full horror film being fast-tracked. Clayface is actually a really cool character. I don't know if they're going to go the fantastical level where he's actually Clay, or if they're going to go the route where he's like a murderous dude that puts on people's faces after he kills them. We'll see. We'll find out. So I think either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. The script was provided by Mike Flanagan. He's done a lot of the horror stuff for Netflix. He's a lot of people that like modern horror today. Mike Flanagan's behind it in some sort of sense. So I think it'll be exciting. It's supposed to be a very low budget movie. So, and usually these low budget movies are the better movies nowadays. So I'm excited for it. Even though it's a Clayface movie and Batman's not in it, I'm excited to see what they do. Dynamic Duo is a coming-of-age crowd pleaser that might not be set in the DCU. So this means when you watch it, it won't be, but one day we could tie it in. And I believe what the Dynamic Duo is, it's the two Robins. It's going to be Dick Grayson and Jason Todd or Tim Drake. Which one are they going to do? Let's see. The film will feature two versions of Batman's sidekick Robin. So they don't say which Robins it'll be. I would assume it would be Dick Grayson going from Robin to Nightwing, probably at the very beginning. And then shortly after that, in like Act 2, it would be Jason Todd. But I don't think they would do the Red Hood story in that sense. So I'm not too sure. Maybe it would just be Nightwing and then Jason Todd as Robin. And then because that's how they tie it into the DCU, Batman finds out about Damian Wayne. So he says to Jason, hey, I can't train you. I got to train my kid. So then Jason will go and train with Nightwing. I think that's the way that they could do it and kind of tie it in if they wanted to. But we'll see. They haven't even started putting a pen to paper yet, I don't think. So not too worried about that. Number 10. 4 family-friendly DC Universe shows have been greenlit. Okay. One thing DC was good at for a very long time was CW shows. They were all a lot of fun. Even when they got pretty crappy, they were still fun to watch. So let's see. Alongside the confirmation of Dynamic Duo, more easygoing DCU projects were announced by Peter Safran and James Gunn. The former revealed that 4 new TV shows have been announced. 3 animated projects called My Adventures with Green Lantern, Starfire, and DC Superpowers, and a live-action episodic Superman spin-off featuring Krypto. Oh, is this stupid Krypto miniseries? That doesn't count. All right, whatever. That's lame, but okay. These will be all family-friendly stories for the DCU, fleshing out the franchise and beyond more mature filmmaking. All right, I guess. 9. The DCU is aiming for 7 projects per year. This is a pretty big commitment, considering we're only getting 2 this year Creature Commandos and Superman. Is there something coming out later? I guess Peacemaker, so that'd be 3. So that's DCU, so that's not an Elseworlds thing. Elseworlds would be like Robert Pattinson's Batman or the Harley Quinn cartoon, stuff like that. So one of the more interesting confirmations that will be how striving to release 7 projects per year. Kind of skip that a little bit. Safran broke this down, insisting that 3 movies, 2 live action, and 1 animated would be targeted each year, as well as 4 TV shows split equally regarding animation and live action. So 2 and 2. Is that what he's saying there? So, 3 movies. Okay, so next year we have Supergirl, Clayface, and then there's a 3rd movie in there somewhere. But how? They haven't even announced it. And if he's not even going to announce it until the script is done, there's no way they're going to get something to the likes of that you need of Supergirl special features done by the end of next year. There's no way. Unless they go into production next week. Anyway, okay. 16 3 movies. Oh, 2 live action, 1 animated. My mistake. I thought it meant an animated show. Okay, they could do an animated movie, but next year. That'd be cool if that dynamic duo was one of them, but it might not be a part of it. Either way, all right. So that's cool. For me, more movies better. Just they have to be good movies. Obviously, I don't know who wants to watch a shitty movie. Okay, 8. The DCU aims for cohesion and unity with projects that can also stand alone. This is going to be their biggest task because it is very hard to have something that stands alone but is also cohesive with everything else. That's very hard to do. Marvel kind of did it during the Infinity Saga. You didn't necessarily have to watch one movie before seeing another, but it definitely helped. So we'll see. I think the biggest way they'll do this is that to start, you won't need to have seen Superman when you see Supergirl. I think that's a really good start for them to have, actually. Okay, 7. Let's get through this. Matt Reeves is yet to submit a script for Batman Part 2. Okay, fantastic. It's been what? It's already been 4 years since that movie came out. So at this point, I don't even care. Penguin was good. The Batman was good. Just leave it, bro. Like, honestly. Or get to work. But who knows what he's got going on in his personal life. But this 4 years until a script is done, or a script has even been submitted. By the time it gets submitted and approved and everything like that, it'll probably be 5 to 5.5 years since the movie came out. Then another year past that once it's actually in theaters. That's just way too long of a gap. 6, Robert Pattinson is not the DCU's Batman. I'm fine with that. 5, The Authority and Waller have had some setbacks. Nobody really knows who they are anyways, so who cares? The Authority, I did some research into them when I first found out about them, though. They seem really cool. They'd be a good, big threat for the Justice League or for, the coming together of the Justice League, I think. A Waller show could care less. She's in every other project. We don't need a solo Waller show. That's stupid. 4, the DCU's video game side remains important. All right. We'll see. I guess it's really the only thing you can say that. James Gunn has ensemble movies planned. Okay, good. That means Justice League. Let's make a cool Justice League. The Zack Snyder's Justice League was awesome, but it's also 4 hours. Not many people want to sit and watch a 4-hour movie every time. So I think what he's doing with Superman, where he's kind of introducing a lot of characters at a little bit of a time, is going to help actually in the long run. 2, Superman is focused on 3 characters with many supporting heroes. That's kind of what I just said. So Superman, I assume the 3 characters that's going to be the focus is going to be Superman / Clark, Lois, and Lex. And then all the other characters are just going to be they're just going to kind of be there. So they won't necessarily be stealing a show or anything like that. They're just going to say, hey, we're in this universe. This is how it goes. And then dip out. 1, a second Superman trailer is being prepared. Kind of ironic. I was talking about that all the way back at number 20. So yes, I think the next trailer will come out in April. All right. So that's it for the DC updates. We'll see if any more come out anytime soon. Now I'm going to go on to the UFC. As you can tell, I've changed my hat. Okay. So it was announced earlier today that Dan Hooker fractured his hand, or as he likes to call it, his paw. So he's going to be out of the fight in, I believe, 11 or 12 days. That was against Justin Gaethje. I was really looking forward to that fight. It was going to be an awesome co-main event, but he's out. I know Justin Gaethje. Not personally, but I just can tell from all his fights before, he'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. He does not care. I made a little short on this earlier. This is where Ilia Topuria steps in. He cut away 145. He said, I don't want to do it anymore. I can't do it. Can't make the weight. Did everything I need to do. Here's the belt. I want to go to 155. My original thought was, okay, he's proven himself at 145, and him against Islam is a more interesting fight than Islam fighting everybody else a second time. So let's make that fight first. But with Ramadan coming up, Islam's not going to be fighting. He's not going to be training. I don't know if they train at all during Ramadan or not. But this gives a chance for Ilya to step up and say, hey, I just said I want to be the best at 155. The best can't fight right now for personal reasons. This guy just got hurt. Put me in his place and fight Justin Gaethje. Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje, UFC 313, in 11 days notice. So I said this in my short earlier. This is a win-win for Ilia Topuria. And this is why I say that. Number one, he could use the excuse if he loses. Hey, I just got to this weight class. I'll fight anybody anywhere. I don't really care. But I lost because I was unfamiliar with it. I was unfamiliar with the training. I was unfamiliar with this, with that. I didn't expect him to punch so hard or whatever. He could literally use any excuse he wants if he loses. And if he wins, he's going to say, hey, I told everybody I belong here. I could take these guys' hits. I would finish, or say he gets a submission or a knockout against Justin Gaethje. I was able to finish this guy, and he's known as one of the heaviest hitters in the 155 division, and I did it like nothing, or whatever it is. Obviously, winning is a win. And losing, he still wins because he's taking this fight on short notice, stepping up like he said he would, and at least trying. All these other people have been calling out for these fights. Nobody wants to see that. You guys aren't champions right now. No offense. I mean, neither am I. I'm not in the UFC. But they're not champions right now. Nobody wants to see Manny Moicano and Justin Gaethje fight. I would rather see Manny Moicano fight Charles Oliveira, if I'm being honest with you. I think they've already fought, but I would like to see that one over him fight Justin Gaethje because he just had a title shot and lost. So I would rather see Islam and Sarukian if Justin doesn't want to fight. I would rather see Ilia Topuria and Arman Sarukian fight for an interim belt or just for the number one contender spot if Justin Gaethje doesn't want to fight or if he gets hurt too. There's a lot of other fights that you could put Ilia in right now at the 155 that all just depend on him stepping up. But I think Justin Gaethje and Ilia is the fight to make since Dan Hooker got hurt. It's a win-win, honestly, for both of them. Justin Gaethje, he said a while back he's on his last title run, and then he lost to BMF, but that was kind of like a one-off fight. So I think this is a win-win for both of them, especially Ilia. So that's it for my little UFC news. There are some other fights that were announced, but they weren't huge fights. And then we got fights coming up this weekend at the Apex, and then the week after that's going to be the pay-per-view. That's the pay-per-view I'm talking about. So let me know what you guys think about everything down below in the comments. Likes, dislikes, agreements, disagreements, anything like that. Let me know. Have yourself a great day.